for getting us all together for this, might as well call it a workshop on song leading, to learn from you, and I'll pass on as much as I know, as much as I can. It just so happens that I've decided if I never make a record again, I wanted to make a recording of what I know about song leading, and I did a kind of a sing-along concert with Folkways later this year, which is specifically try and explore some of the different techniques I've learned over the years leading. Consider this, that our ancestors once upon a time lived in tribes and villages, and they all sang together, really, whether it was North Europe or South Africa or where else. It was a common thing in small groups of people to know the same songs. Maybe all the men sang their men's songs, the women sang the women's songs. And in this life, things have gotten broken up. Some people sing in churches. Summer camps will sing when they get to know each other well. And I guess other organizations have singing too, but I think I face a kind of a special situation in this period of history, late 20th century. Walking out on some kind of a platform, or standing up in some kind of a room with a batch of other people who come from a whole lot of different places, a lot of different traditions, and we'd like them to sing together too, just like they did in the old days. And how are we going to get them together? I loved to holler and make a racket. I'd sing Christmas carols with my friends and school songs. I sang the school chorus and glee club later on. But it was when I started making a living of sorts, traveling around with the banjo, that people pointed out to me, and I graduated. Well, I didn't have really much of a voice. People singing with me, and that made up for a lot of lacks on my part. And they were all singing loud. They didn't care whether I could sing good or not. It came out was pretty good. I sing standing up. Now, Lead Belly always sang sitting down, and got a crowd singing with him. Josh White put his foot on a chair. He with him. It was Josh, incidentally, who taught me of feeding out the lines between a song. On top of the whole snow, covered snow, covered with snow, I lost my true lover. I lost my true love. Walking so slow, so slow. Of course, you can do that with a jillion other songs. Sometimes it's easier than other times. Sometimes you have to really the words quick, and if you're a fraction of a second too late or too late, it confuses things rather than helping. With a song, If I Had a Hammer, for example, I don't have time to give the whole line. I'm singing at top speed with top energy, and yet it does help the crowd, even though they know the song. It does help them if I just give them a little hint. That I don't usually sing in the beginning of a concert, and part of this workshop is going to be on how you can group songs. You want the flow and continuity, at the same time you want, and sometimes when you find yourself getting in a rut, the best way to do is just switch do something totally unexpected. I've given up planning songs too exactly in advance. I try. Sometimes the improvised ones work better, and one reason they work better, right in the middle of a concert, I think, oh, things are not going as well as they should. I got to think of them. So while I'm singing one song, I think of what can I do to get out of this rut. I may sing a very slow song with no accompaniment. I may sing a funny song, or for that matter, something very serious. But a switch, something that was not expected. And maybe my own success as a singer is more due to this. I've got a lot of songs in the back of my head, several hundred, and I can pull them out. I pull out the right song at the right time, because I really don't have much in the way of voice. I can sing, but not. I can play guitar and banjo, but I'm not a great instrumentalist. But having this batch of songs in the back of my head that I can pull out a wide range of songs, and after all, no two audiences are alike, right? We sing for senior citizens, or we can sing for little kids. We can sing for shy country people, or blasé teenagers. So it's a big different kinds of songs. Otherwise, if you want to stick to one particular type of audience, maybe you're safe there. Like if you always sing for summer camp, all the camp songs. John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt. And I suppose the same thing would go if you sang mostly for senior citizens. You sing mostly for senior citizens. You say, what kind of song?
Well, I usually hand out like percussion instruments and do some up-tempo things.
Tambourines? Good.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Ain't She Sweet, or
pop songs.
Yeah.
Margie, I always thinking of you, Margie. I bet they remember the days of the bouncing ball. Yeah. I don't mind reading words off a screen, and the time I do it, I shoot words up on the screen, write out words on a big sheet of paper. But I really don't like everybody burying their nose in paper. And when I'm coming to sing for some audience, and they say, well, let us know some of the songs you're going to sing. We'll mimeograph them, and we'll have everybody. I say, please don't. You can mimeograph them if you want out later on. Don't hand them out singing, because there's this kind of unity lost, I think, when everybody's got their nose buried in that piece of paper. First of all, you can't sing well. You sing much better with your head raised up. And of course, as any choral director knows, you sing best when you're standing up. Fill a lung full of air and really sing out. But I've started off this session, and I'll continue on it a little bit. Have any of you had this experience? Choice of song can be crucial. I mean, you might a song will always be good, but somehow it didn't sound like it was supposed to. It didn't go over, and the reason was wrong place. Maybe many loud songs, and it was one more loud song. Or maybe it was you'd had too many slow songs, and it was one more slow song. Else, it didn't mean anything to the people. And in a sense, we're not just singing, as you know, music, we're singing words. And I feel sometimes the words can be meaningless, as in a lot of pop songs they are, granted. I was trying to analyze some pop songs, and how stupid can you get? What was it, Disney? Well, Margie is a typical. I confess that I came to this whole field feeling that the world together, and musicians can help pull it together. 1% of the country owns 1/3 of its wealth. By the other 99% if I could. The men and the women, and the gay and the straight, and the black and the white, and the young and the old, and the long hair and the crew cut. Some people think I'm wrong about this. They say you're trying to unify too large a group. Cut it down to 80%. I find myself sticking with the and if I offend the other 1%, I don't really mind. But I don't like to offend people if I... On the other hand, I think often that I have a job if I haven't stretched their imagination a little by singing something that they're not quite sure. And this is part of it, singing a foreign language song occasionally. What do I want to sing in Spanish? Only speak Spanish. But I feel very strongly that this country needs to be more bilingual. I sing songs whenever I get a chance to. Guantanamera is, of course, one of the great ones. There's an awful lot more. But this feeling of continuity and variety, too, is what I probably was able to develop more than most people. Had a good memory. I guess a good memory does help. I can't remember a grocery list, but I can remember songs. And I can't remember if I sit down, but I stand up and start singing, and there's a memory in my muscle or in my hands. It happened just the other day. I was going to sing with a lot of words, and I said, I sung this about 6 months. Do I know it really? And I don't. Well, I got to try it anyway. I'll fluff my. I remember the whole up there. 10,000 people didn't know me, and I would have been kind of embarrassed if I'd muffed it. But once I started singing, the muscle memory came out, and I remembered all the lines. So memory does help. Questions asked, does pitch help, does rhythm help, all these things help. Let's take these up later on. But right now I'm talking about knowing a whole songs, funny songs, bawdy songs, angry songs, sad songs, and some songs solo. After all, people would want to rest their vocal cords. And this is also why I play a recorder sometimes, rest my own vocal cords. Play a tune on a whistle, or play an instrumental on the guitar. So do you have this? Do you do this also, Tom? When if you're getting a whole crowd singing, do you find let's rest our vocal cords for a while and play an instrumental or something?
Well, I don't do that so much because I don't, as you said earlier, I don't consider myself to be an instrumentalist. So it'd be very embarrassing for me to try to play an instrumental. At the same time, what's fun sometimes is to chorus so well in the way that you're talking about that people can sing it back to me. I really enjoy that, and there's some rest in that sometimes.
Harry Chapin does this. Harry Chapin song The Cat's Cradle. Cat's in the cradle at a tiny silver spoon. It's a very serious song. If you don't know, his wife wrote it, and it was aimed at him. And he wrote the tune for it because he recognized truth about the father who's always busy, and says to his kid wants to play, and he says, "Oh, later, we'll get together." And the chorus is from the old nursery rhyme: "Cat's in the cradle and a silver spoon, the little boy blue and the man in the moon." And after he's sung 2 or 3 or 4 verses, even the people who never heard it before have learnt this chorus. And he'll ask the the crowd sing it back to him. And he'll just sit there listening. He'll play the... You do that too?
Yeah, every now and then. I've heard Tom Paxton do that several times with some of the old standards that he's done. He'll just say, now you sing it.
Yeah, well, it gives the audience their own strength. I don't do it so much, but in a sense I do, in that I stop singing on the song and keep lines a little bit. Harry also does this with "All My Life's a Circle, Circle, Sunrise and Sundown, Moon to Time." It's a gentle, sentimental song, and he'll say, "Let's hear the balcony sing it," and everybody listens to the balcony sing. He says, "Those in the expensive seats sing it. Stand around." And they stand up and face backwards and sing the rest. He'll say, "Hey, Mike out there been handling the sound system all over. Mike, you sing this." And Mike, without any microphone in front of me, he'll sing the chorus. And sometimes the person handling here gets snot from the wings. And he'll keep it going for not just 2 or 3 minutes, but 4 minutes. And this leads me to something that I was slow to realize, is that sometimes when a song is only going half well, instead of stopping it, the best thing is to go on with it, because it'll get better and better. I had a guitar class she was teaching in a school, and the black man who was the maintenance man had to stay there to close up the joint. He liked them and listened to them. He says, "Stick with one song a long time." And he repeated that. That's a contribution, and it's also one of the traditions, that you stay with it till you really are with it. You don't get halfway and say, "Well, I guess it was a mistake," and wander off halfway through. You stick with it until you get there. And it may take 5 minutes, it may take 15 minutes. But if you've been to black, they'll sing the whole thing over. Odetta did this when we were giving a Woody Guthrie program. We were singing "This Land Is Your Land." She wouldn't let us stop it. She just kept singing it over, and every time I thought, well, this surely must be the last time. But she sang it again and again and again. And the audience rose to the occasion. They got better and better and better and better and better till they were on their feet and they were singing at their best. Far better than they were 3 minutes before, when we would have normally ended the song. African technique, it also was used to play Hair, where they repeated that last line, "Let the sun shine, let the sun shine." That was originally just the last. The person who wrote the song never wrote that. It was the black performers. And it's one more African tradition which we white people are absorbing. Here for about 10 or 15 minutes, I guess.
Lenny uses a lot of instrumental in his work. You mentioned that, don't you?
Well, I play some South American instruments. I was using to both for the interest that they have, and I realized at one point I was doing a concert where the second half I was doing all my own songs, and I was kind of feeling instrumental work isn't worth putting out there alone. But I realized that the charango in the first half gives people a break from words as well. They can just listen to the music, and it's a here I'm doing 12 songs, and for me, what's important. And I didn't put anything in there where people could rest. So I said, well, I'm going to play a couple of just easy fiddle tunes, just for their rest, for everybody's rest. And I think it's something I definitely am aiming to incorporate for those reasons. And within a song, someone was which comes to this thing of making songs short. A friend has told me that has been urging me to put breaks into everything I do, an instrumental break, so that people can hear the words, reflect on the words, think about the words, learn the melody a little better, be in the song, because I have sometimes get in the song and get out and get on to the next one, but the instrumental break within a song, even though you're not a hot player, the point necessarily isn't to showcase your hot playing, but to give you a chance to hear the song.
I'm convinced that our greatest songs are yet unsung. And out of people like you here and the people that will follow you are going to be some extraordinary new combinations. Balancing a solo, an instrument with a verse sung by one or two or three people with a whole crowd. Look what Bach did. He'd write these wonderful fancy organ and his choir would sing some harmony, and then all of a sudden the whole congregation, they said, oh, we know this song, and they all sang it. And every week he had a new one. For the greatest period of music writing history. It was the last years of his life when he just lived in the city of Leipzig, making up some fancy new arrangement for an old song. So now the light's going off. And tape going off for a while too.
Break.
Let's sing a little song just for old time's sake, because it was 34 years ago that a woman, 46 years old, down in Los Angeles she was living. She met me and Earl Robinson and some others, said, I'd like to try writing songs. And this was one of her first songs. I get butterflies in my stomach whenever I start to sing. When I'm at a microphone, I shake like anything. But if you sing along with me, I'll do my... I'm awful nervous, lonesome, and swell when I'm a crowd. Sing along, sing along, sing along, and just sing la la la. If you don't know the song, you'll quickly learn the music. You'll find yourself a word. When we sing together, we'll be heard. You'll quickly learn the music. You'll find yourself a word. Because when we'll be heard, you'll quickly learn the music. You'll find yourself a word. Because when we sing together, we'll And she had verses about my congressman was important, he hobnobs with big biz. Unions, and then she ended, life is problems. The world's a funny place. I sometimes wonder why the hell I joined the human race. If you sing along with me, I'm quite pretty. I'm awful lonesome, but I make a swell committee. Sing along, sing along, sing along, sing along. And la la la, if you don't know the song, you quickly learn the music. Find yourself a word, 'cause when we sing together, we'll be heard. We shall not be moved. 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 Just like a tree that's planted by the water. We shall be moved. Now, no two voices are exactly alike, but I rather guess that's a little bit low and comfortable a key. You could sing a lullaby in that key, nice and soft. But if you want to sing out, it's hard to do it, at least for me, at that low key. So I usually, instead of singing C, way up, just up into D, up here, way up. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. Just like a tree that's planted by the water. We shall not be moved. It's tremendously important to get the song quartet, you can get in the fiercest arguments. Should it be in C or C sharp? No, it must. The Weavers would argue for 2 hours about the first, because Ronnie is an alto, and I was a good for her, was a little bit too low for me. Well, I sometimes won, sometimes she won. But you'll find as a song leader that the same song can sound very, very different. Even while I sang it in, I wouldn't consider real picket line. If you want this song to sound out good, I mean good, this is going to be too high for some of the women, so you can sing the harmony. We shall not be moved. We shall not. Now, you have just a few notes above the men. We are singing a bear, we shall not. So, now this one, think it loud. We shall not be moved. Good alto singers love to do that. They sing low right down in the middle of their register with a good, strong alto voice, but they're singing just 3 notes above all the men. Get nice 2 harmony. This is done in many folk choirs. Do you ever hear the Pyatnitsky, the chorus of Russia? Yeah. Women have the same range of voice that the Carter family had, but they also did the same thing. Women sang low, and men sing high. One little thing that's a lot of fun to try sometimes with a crowd, to let them stretch their voices. Let the men really push their men's voices as high as they can, instead of down in the cellar. Just raise it. And I rarely will start that song in such a high key. I'd scare everybody away. They said, oh, this is too high for me. I'm not going to sing out there. Voice. So I'll start it down low. I raise it. I raise it a little more. Raise it. And if it's really going well, they suddenly realize how much higher they can sing if they have to. Of course, you know what Beethoven, he pushed things up to the absolute limit of the range when he did the Ode to Joy in E flat, and they sang. You want it, but they did. They're inspired. There's one choral director I knew in Canada, and she says, "You're not out of breath, you're out of conviction." But pitch is tremendously important. The right key for every song. And one song can sound so differently, low or high. Fortunately, I've got a kind of average voice. I don't have a particularly high tenor, and I don't have a low bass. I wish many times I did a great range to my voice. I'd love to be able to sing one of those high tenors, and I'd even like even more to be a bass singer. Oh, I'd love it if I could sing. And my voice just kind of goes to a rumble. When I try and sing low, it just vanishes. Has no, without a microphone, I couldn't be heard on a bass. And you can too, if you have a good microphone. You can fake a low note. It's very soft, but you just move in close to the microphone. Like we shall not move. We shall not be moved. Now, nobody could hear that if I didn't have a microphone. But with a microphone, it comes out. And it adds to a good, I'd say bass singing is the biggest on in this country. You go to Eastern Europe where they have these choruses, you hear these wonderful rich basses. Go to a church that's been singing together, and got these big basses. Well, I'm envious. And in our sing-alongs, we rarely, I would say, have enough basses. Do you ever hear enough basses? We haven't built up a good tradition of bass singing. I'd say it's better than it used to be, and a lot of people are singing Weimawet with me about bass singing, because the African choirs, the South African choirs, all depend on a rich bass. Well, just for the fun of it, I'll teach you. All the men sings. Ave, ave, somagwaza. Can you get that note? Ave, ave, somagwaza. Ave, ave, somagwaza. If that's too low, you can take the high part. Else should sing somagwaza. Mrs. Z.K. Matthews. She and her husband were living in exile in New York, and she said, "Weimar is a good, I like the way you do it, but you should learn some of our other songs." A whole book of these songs, and I tried learning a couple of them. And this is like a round; it goes over and over and over. It's for the young men. They're circumcised, and as the whole village stands around and sings this song. And there's a third part, so don't lose your places. Here we go. Great round. I call it a round. It's not quite like the English rounds, but that bass, it's so wonderful to get a good bass, and I hope that maybe some of our writers will work on it. The gospel singers have done pretty good, but we need to do better. Two-part songs are fun. I've been having a lot of fun recently singing Hole in the Bucket, just getting all the men to sing the men's part. And then I stay silent and let the women sing. It's fun, the bouncing back and forth. But getting away from the subject, stick with pitch. Here's where singing harmony is a big help. If the song's too high, you sing a low harmony. If the song's too low, sing a high harmony. And when you get a really good gang, it's inspiring to see the range of harmony you can get. Some really high voices, low voices, and it's a thrilling thing. At the same time, my gosh, there's times you don't want any harmony. Here's a song I don't know if you ever heard. Matt McGinn words, just fitted it to an old tune. Here's a song for one and all, down, down, down. Here's a song for one and all, with a down. Here's a song for one and all about a man just 2 foot tall. Down, derry, 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 down. Now don't get any harmony, stay right on the melody. He met a dame on Blytheswood Square. Down, 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 down. He met a dame on Blytheswood Square. With a down, he met a dame on Blytheswood Square, and she was 40 fair. With a down, derry, 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 down, down. To him with tender smile. Down, down, and down. She said to him with tender smile. Down. She said to him with tender smile, would you be free for a wee short while? With a down, derry, derry, down, down. His evil mind began to roam. Down, down, and down. His evil mind began to roam. His evil mind began to roam when she said, dearie, come on home. Down, derry, 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 down, down. She showed him to her room and said, down, down. She showed him to her room and said, down. She showed him to her room and said, lay all your things at bed. With a down, derry, 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 down, down. She said, I'll be right back in a tick. Down, down, and down. She said, I'll be right back in a tick. Derry, down. She said, I'll be right back in a tick. The wee man threw his clothes off quick. Down, derry, 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 down, down. She brought her 7 children in. Down, down, down. She brought her 7 children in. She brought her 7 children in. Said, see that ruckle of bone and skin. With a down, derry, 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 down, down. Says she, destroying all his courage. Down, down, and down, and down. Says she, destroying all his courage. With a down, says she, destroying all his courage. That's what you get when you don't eat porridge. With a down, derry, 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 down, down. I learned that about a year or 2 ago, traveling up to met Matt McGinn's widow. Said she'd found some poems and verses among his papers that had never been published. Never seen them. Matt McGinn lives as we sing his songs. I brought that up because harmonies, well, I love harmony, but some of the greatest singing is done with no harmony. American Indians don't use a lot of harmony. Don't use it, I don't think. And some of those Irish, Scottish type songs, you spoil them when you get harmony. We went to Rossio. Get Lou Killen to sing it. It's a long, humorous story about a bunch of soldiers that get drunk and they finally find a place to get lodgings for the night. And one of them sneezes and he wakes and they're all and you'd spoil it if you got harmony. There's some songs too you spoil if you get more than 2 parts. Again, listen to some of the songs of the Piatnitsky chorus, 2 women's voices, and you don't want 3 parts. You don't want 3 parts, just those 2 parts. They're so nice and stand out so clear. We were singing a little while ago the Mexican. No, it's a Cuban song, actually. Even if you don't know the words, you can la-la your way through. Cuando se quiere de veras, como te quiero yo a ti, es imposible mi cielo, tan separados vivir. Cuando se quiere de veras, como te quiero yo a ti, es imposible mi cielo, tan separados vivir, tan separados vivir. And of course, you know, the harmony part is just 3 notes below the melody. Cuando te quiere de veras, cuando te quiero. Somebody sing the melody. Es imposible mi cielo, tan separados vivir. Cuando se quiere de veras, como te quiero yo a ti, es imposible mi cielo, tan separados vivir, tan separados vivir. You gotta switch and go above the melody for the last line. But some traditions are full of these 2-part songs, Mediterranean traditions especially, which are, of course, throughout Latin America. And I think it's worth respecting these traditions. Messing them up, trying to put harmony to the songs that weren't originally intended to have harmony. Not trying to put 4-part harmony to something that was intended to have 2-part harmony. On the other hand, you can be disrespectful sometimes and make a breakthrough. Lots of great musicians have. But is there anything else I haven't said about pitch? I think it's worthwhile, if you get a crowd that likes to sing, to stretch their range a little bit, sing some songs real high. The song I've Got Sixpence, which soldiers used to sing, is one of these songs. You know,
Sixpence.
I've got 6 pence,
Jolly, jolly sixpence. I've got 6 pence to last me all my life. Got 2 pence to spend and 2 pence to lend and 2 pence to send home to my wife. Poor wife, no cares have I to grieve me. No pretty little girls to deceive me. Happy as a lark, believe me, as we go rolling, rolling home.
rolling home,
Rolling home,
rolling home,
rolling home.
by the light
Light of a silvery moon. Happy is the day when the army gives us pay, as we go rolling, rolling home.
Oh my gosh, I haven't sung that so much in 40 years, but that high note, happy is the day. It's worthwhile reaching for a high note occasionally. It's what tenors love to do. And so sometimes when I sing that song, the Homestead Strike song, I may sing it tonight over at Berkeley. it's already high in pitch. And then you say, are there any tenors around? Oh, they have a fine time reaching for the high notes. And they're proud they're singing notes nobody else can sing. What else about pitch, though? Because it helps beyond pitch. And when you're nervous, when you're straining, you can get out of pitch. You're not listening to myself. And I might say also, one of the first signs of senility is you start getting out of pitch, too. I can no longer tune a banjo or a guitar if it's noisy around me. I just can't hear it. And I now get the guitar well tuned off stage and bring it on, because I don't like to take too long to tune it. I can tune a banjo fairly quickly still, but I no longer. On the other hand, my mother, age 89, could still hear good pitch. She said, you're sharp. She was a violin teacher. All her life she told people when they're off pitch, and she was telling me I was off pitch till the day she was dying. Anything else we haven't taken about pitch?
Well, what about some of us that are young? I mean, on stage I'm trying to figure out a harmony to remember one, and I hit the wrong note. Is there any tips to help you not do that? I mean,
well, there's nothing wrong with a wrong note, really. Sometimes it might surprise you by being a right note. Think of all the jazz musicians who just are having a fine time. They're hitting wrong notes all over the place. People think they're right. Think of all the cooks who sprinkles too much of something in the soup and it turned out great. No, if you hit a wrong note, you just laugh about it and go on. Admittedly, it's a big help to have confidence, and I was helped all my life in that I had a low threshold of nervousness. I can get nervous talking to one person, but I don't get nervous talking to large groups of people. And I'd sung all my life with friends, and so it wasn't anything particular to walk out on the stage. And I guess there's no substitute for doing it a lot. You know, if you're nervous about something, try it. Do it again until you get over your nervousness. Any other recommendations for getting over nervousness? Because
know it real well.
Yeah, I know. As the song says, I know my song well before I start singing.
The other thing, it seems to me, about nervousness too, is I get more nervous when I feel as though I have to carry the whole show. And when you start talking about involving other people in it, to me it's a real, you know, just to trust the fact that they're going to give back a whole lot. And that's the biggest help, seems to me, in performing or in getting them to sing along or anything.
Yeah. Of course, about singing on pitch, which I'll end off this little section, it does help sometimes to have a monitor, speaker. I don't like them because I can't hear the audience so well, and I want to be able to tell how well they're singing. But if I want to hear myself know that I'm singing on pitch, one of these little monitor speakers. This is why Paul Robeson used to sing with his hand like this, and Ewan McCall does also. Carries the voice right up the palm, right into your ear, and you can stay on pitch much better if you do that.
If he sings a cappella, which we just heard him, and that's why he does that. I was curious.
That's right. And when you're singing a long ballad, your voice is your only instrument. And he wants to know exactly what his voice is doing, and he can hear it better when he does this. He doesn't cover up his ear. The sound is going from his lips to the palm and then up his fingers to his ear.
I had a question about pitch.
Yeah.
Every now and then I have the experience with an audience that I can't get one of the parts on the right pitch. Are there any specific techniques to actually helping people get to where you want them to get?
Well, here's where an instrument can help. You can sing one pitch and the instrument take the other. That helps a little bit. And sometimes you can bob around with your own voice, but it may end up by confusing people. Sometimes you sing first the high part, and then you sing the low part. People don't know who to...
You lose somebody, and I just wonder if there's a way to...
No, I don't know exactly what to do. Here's where, of course, people like to divide up the audience. You all sing the low part, you all sing the high part. But this can get kind of mechanical sometimes. And I've given it up in recent years unless I have to do it. Because if you get too teachy about things, sometimes you can destroy the flow of the evening. He's so busy teaching. And yet occasionally it's worthwhile trying to teach some things. Do we have time on the tape to teach another song to you all here? I learned last fall, I went to sing out, said, do you know any Nicaraguan songs? And Sarah Plant, the new editor of Sing Out, the new music editors, a big smile, says, just so happens this issue we've got a fine Nicaraguan song. And it is a beauty. Cristo ya nació en Palacagüina, el Chepejón, y una María, ella va pancha muy humildemente, la mujer ociosa del terrateniente. And I usually get a laugh when I say, you know, I'm going to teach that all to you. But it is not as hard because I took out the words. I even wrote them on a big piece of plywood about 10 feet high. Cristo ya nació en Palacagüina del Chepejón y una María. Doesn't know Spanish, you know you don't pronounce the H and you roll the R's and the J is an H. La ropa que goza la mujer ociosa del terrateniente. Try a little faster. They actually sing it very fast in Nicaragua. Cristo nació en Palacagüina del Chepejón. Right away, but I'll tell you what the words mean. Christ is already born in Palacagüina of Joe Pavone, Nagal Maria. She's the one that goes so humbly to iron clothes for the lazy wife of the landlord. And then the verses.
Scary.
En el terra Juana, Montana dentro de la Segovia. Se vi un resplandor extraño, como un horror de medianoche. Los maes a la se prendieron, los libraplatas se estremecieron. Y llovió por Moyagalpa, por Telpeneque y por Chichigalpa. Cristo ya nació en Palacagüina del Chepejón. Of the Iguana Mountains, there was a strange splendor like a midnight dawn. It lit up the corn plants. Bolts of lightning shivered a shower of light over Moyagalpa, Telpeneque, and Chichigalpa. Christ is already born here in Palacagüina. And the second verse says, the Indians gathered round. Indians is the word for the poor people, the farmers, to watch this. And Joaquin brought bread and cheese from Nagarote. There was no gold, no incense, but there was sweets from Del Riomo and little fried donuts from Guadalupe. Cristo ya nació en Palacagüina del Chepejón y una María. Now what we need is the harmony, because there they're singing Cristo ya nació en Palacagüina del Chepejón y una María. sing the melody. Melody, Cristo ya nació. Ay, para Cristo ya nació. 1, 2, Cristo ya nació. The song was written by Carlos Mejia Godoy, a wonderful young composer who was exiled by Somoza. And this was one of the reasons where we said, what's wrong with this song? Well, those of you who know Spanish, José un pobre jornalero, se me catea todito el día, lo tiene con reumatismo, el tejido de la carpintería. María sueña que el hijo, igual que él trata ser carpintero. Pero el simpatío piensa, mañana quiero ser guerrillero. Cristo ya nació. En la alegría, el amor, y una María, de la mancha, muy diferente. Joseph is a poor carpenter, sick from the dust in the carpentry shop. Maria, she's dreaming that her boy is going to be a carpenter like his daddy. But the kid is thinking, tomorrow I want to be a gorilla fighter. Cristo ya nació. Like a lot of Latin American songs, it's full of what musicians call a hemiola, that is 2 beats against 3, all in one. But what is going to beat 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, but the guitar is going 1, 2, 3. Cristo ya nació en la alegría, el que me clavó y una María. So that could take a long time, maybe 10 minutes or more to teach to a crowd, but it's worth it, maybe once in the evening to take the time for it. And you, a lot of satisfaction saying, I sang in Spanish. We take another 5-minute break?
Yes, it is.
I'm going to pass around the donation basket.
Cameras, let's go. Hit it. Okay.
I'd like to talk about rhythm for a little while and see what your own ideas are on it. I've always loved a good galloping banjo rhythm, and in recent years I've sing more and more and start off a program with John Henry was about 2 days old, sitting on his papa's knee. Well, he picks up a hammer and a little piece of steel, cried, a hammer's gonna be the death of me, Lord, Lord. Hammer's gonna be the death of me, yeah. Hammer's gonna be the death of me, Lord, Lord. Hammer's gonna be the death of me. Alan Lomax used to describe that kind of music as a a person jumping on a horse that's already galloping. The horse is galloping along, and someone jumps on it and rides. And I think in the tradition in this country, at least, rhythm is tremendously important. There's a certain energy there, and maybe some people in some parts of the world could sing a whole program with no strict rhythm, because some traditions don't go in for a lot of rhythm such as we know. But with a particular combination of African traditions and certain different European traditions, we've got strong rhythms in a lot of our songs. And yet I find it good to vary these rhythms. So if I've got a rhythm like that, I like to follow it with and well, sometimes you may hear again, I'm talking about continuity and variety. Sometimes maybe you do want to stick with the same type of rhythm for a while. I've found it handy to change the rhythms. It's more important for me sometimes to get a certain amount of variety in rhythm than variety in key. Sometimes I'll do 3 or 4 or 5 songs all in the same key, but they will be in different rhythms perhaps. And sometimes it's the relaxation you can get with a slow rhythm, which is very important. I think things can get too tense when you're with too crisp or too fast a rhythm. At the same time as that song Down to Down showed you, there's times you want what would be called by a musicologist an imperiodic rhythm. It's what an Irish friend of mine said, cadence. But I think it's a time value where there is no time value. Amazing Grace is one of these, very, very slow. Amazing Grace. And the nearest thing you could think of to a rhythm would either be something very fast. Sometimes in church you'll see a person tapping their foot very fast during a slow song. But this very slow pulse, but it's not a strict rhythm. At any rate, the feeling for rhythm is, I think, just as important as anything else. And I like to fool around with counter rhythms when I can, but I'm not good enough to do it really well. Sometimes in that Spanish song, when we were singing in 3/4 time, I'll play a 6/8 time. But you can do this anytime with a 3-finger Scruggs pattern. You can almost, it's not a Scruggs pattern, but through 3 fingers, you can break up a simple 3/4 waltz. So very high. You could play Irene Goodnight. Irene Goodnight. Irene Goodnight. You can do that if you want to. It's all right. Papa. Many a German band has done it. But you can also Irene Goodnight. I suspect that as this country absorbs more and more traditions from different parts of the world, Latin America especially, we're going to experiment with more counter rhythms. It's a lot of fun. It can make the music really sparkle. I might mention too, my gosh, banjos and guitars are only two of the instruments we can use. Bernice Regan is a wonderful song leader, and she uses a rattle, an African gourd with beads all around it. Or no rattle at all. She doesn't play any instrument except that. Ella Jenkins will tap on a drum, and I've known other people to be great song leaders just tapping on a drum. Don't have to tap on it very fancy. What other instruments? What do you do with rhythm?
Well, what I do is I make instruments. Take a piece of wood and put a nail through bottle caps and make a tambourine, and put rice or beans inside Clorox bottles and beer cans, and doesn't cost anything.
But it puts sandpaper on a block?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, lots of different things, and then hand them out and have one section be the tambourine section and one section be the maraca section. But I'm just handing out homemade instruments. And then do maybe Mama Don't Allow and have them do the instrument sections. They really like that in particular.
My mother was doing that with me and other young people 60 years ago, and I did it 30 years ago when my children were small. And just recently, my wife found to sell a whole box full of these homemade music instruments. We took it down to the Clearwater Club where we were having a monthly meeting on the waterfront of the Hudson, and we handed them around. Everybody had a fine time making rhythms. Hand clapping is good too, of course. It got overdone with, and so quite often I'll tell people, you know, you can clap if you want to, but don't think you can get away without singing. It's just too easy to sit back and...
Are there sort of things you can do in terms of getting different rhythms going? Get people either making, clapping in different kind of polyrhythms, or making other hand sounds.
Kirkpatrick learned from Bessie Jones of the Sea Island Singers, you can't clap a low clap, you can't clap a high clap. She says, now everybody will hear his grandpa. Here, you clap with me like this. Now everybody over here, the little granddaughter. These Georgia Sea Island Singers were so phenomenal. If you've ever heard them, now old John Davis died, and they'll never be quite the same. But there's a movie of them, and you can see how they bang their canes against the floor, and so it wasn't just their feet and their hands, the canes, and all different kinds of things.
The other thing you can do is clap the air and keep talking. You can.
Really?
I've done that a lot with kids. They love it. Whole different kind of thing. You can clap and talk all at the same time.
Rhythm, of course, is so important that European orchestras all have leaders, and for many years it was the standard thing. If you want to be a song leader, you must know how to beat 3/4 time and beat 4/4 time. But in Samoa once, I saw a song leader who, we saw the same song done twice. And it started off with the song leader going into crouch and going like this. And everybody did this, do this. And then she went, and everybody started singing, and they sang in harmony. The missionaries came in and taught them European harmony, but they already had been singing in groups, and they loved harmony. And it was a 12-year-old girl in the school who was giving us this welcome song, and she did almost like a hula down the aisle, and she would reach up as though she was calling on inspiration from on high, and she would go like this, and everybody would clap one knee. She'd go like that, everybody clapped the other knee. It was a very rhythmic, exciting song. And then we heard the same song done that evening in a college with a young man, with a more masculine version of the dance. But again, he was reaching here, and the song was a combination of dancing and singing. And we made a movie of it, and the film didn't come out. I'm so sorry. It's worth going. If you ever get a chance to go to Samoa, This was Western Samoa, the New Zealand protectorate, supposedly an independent country, but it's really under New Zealand's wing. But asked to listen to that. When will any of us get to Samoa? I don't know. This is just, I had a job in Australia and I was able to stop off.
I think maybe my question really was how can you get participation from an audience other than clapping I mean, we used to sometimes pass out things, or say if it's in a restaurant, tap on your glass, and this kind of thing I'd heard of, and I was sort of thinking, I'm trying to get these kids. I said, I was doing a railroad song. I said, make whatever kind of railroad sounds you want, rhythmic, vocal, or whatever. And
well, there's some special songs, you know, you can do it, like the camp song. Let everyone clap hands like me. Let everyone clap hands like me. Come on and join into the game. You'll find that it's always the same. Let everyone stamp their feet like me. Let everyone stamp their feet like me. Come on and join into the game. You'll find that it's always the same. You sneeze, let everyone sneeze like me. Leo, put your hand in front of your mouth, not polite otherwise. And cough and so on. These game songs are fun, and with, I don't know, do you ever do that with senior citizens, game songs?
Mm-hmm.
I've done them with little kids for years. Put your finger in the air, or this old man. Actually, it was San Francisco I first heard. This old man, he plays one. He plays knick-knack on my thumb. And they had knick-knack, paddywhack. This was on Presidio Hill School. Knick-knack, paddywhack all the way around. This old man sits on the ground. And they get all the kids to sit down this way. So they'd be milling around. They want all the kids to sit down.
What's the name of that movie about the Georgia Sea Islanders? Do you remember the name of it?
Step It Down.
Conrad.
Huh?
Conrad.
No. It's called Step It Down, and it's a little half-hour movie made about 8 years ago in Los Angeles, and it's available through the 16mm place outfits. I don't know which one. Bess Hawes made it. Was one of the people who got the funding for it.
I do that dance game, Step It Down, with the seniors, and they like that a lot.
Lots of little game tricks with kids. One of the favorite ones, as you know, is she be coming round the mountain, she comes. She'll be coming round the mountain when she comes. She'll be coming round the mountain, she'll be coming round the mountain, she'll be coming round the mountain when she comes. And you know how it all ends up, you know. She'll be wearing red pajamas, scratch, scratch. And then you go through all the motions. It's a cumulative thing, so it's very funny. The last time, scratch, scratch, yum, yum, hack, hack, whoa, back. Hi, baby. I guess you can run this kind of thing in the ground, but it's good to have a certain number of these in the back of your mind in case you need them sometimes. And one of the funniest, I was singing at a camp for very young children, 4- and 5-year-olds, and their favorite song was, I stuck my finger in the woodpecker's hole, the woodpecker's hole, the woodpecker's hole. I stuck my finger in the woodpecker's hole, and the woodpecker said, remove it. I removed my finger from the woodpecker's hole, the woodpecker's hole, the woodpecker's hole. I removed my finger from the woodpecker's hole, and the woodpecker said, replace it. I replaced my finger in the woodpecker's hole, the woodpecker's hole, the woodpecker's hole. I replaced my finger in the woodpecker's hole, and the woodpecker said, revolve it. I revolved my finger in the woodpecker's hole, the woodpecker's hole, the woodpecker's hole. I revolved my finger in the woodpecker's hole, and And the woodpecker said, reverse it.
I reversed my finger in the woodpecker's hole. The woodpecker's hole. The woodpecker's hole. I reversed my finger in the woodpecker's hole.
And the woodpecker said, oh, ridiculous. I really can't remember.
Come on, you can.
Well, all these things are full of rhythm, which means you involve your body. I think this is one reason I like to stand up myself when I sing. I can't really move my body well when I'm sitting down. As I said, Leadbelly nearly always sang sitting down. He could really do what he wanted to on the guitar. Tremendously muscular man. He sometimes stood up. He had a dance, and it was never recorded, never filmed, but someday somebody must do it. He said, went out duck hunting, and he tells a whole story about, he used a guitar, but and there comes a duck, and he'd do a little dance, and there comes a, and his body, he was a very rhythmic, muscular, graceful man, and he'd do some of these. There was one other thing he did standing up. He'd imitate about 5 different women of Shreveport, and he'd do a little buck and wing, double shuffle, and the old woman coming into town like this, and the little farm girl coming into town for the first time to see the sights with her eyes wide open, and the high society lady, the prostitute, all the different people, and each time he had a little buck and wing. But by and large, he sang sitting down, and he really would get a crowd singing because that big guitar had such tremendous power. And whether it was Bring Me a Little Water, Sylvie, or Jump Down, Turn Around, Pick a Bale of Cotton, he did most of his sitting there. But I find standing better for me. I can move my body and I can reach out and use my arms and everything else because sometimes it takes main force to keep everybody together. And one of the questions was, what do you do when you have such a huge crowd that won't stay together? There's not much you can do. I once tried to sing Tzena Tzena in Tel Aviv before about 20,000 people, and Tzena Tzena, the claps came back to the it was hopeless. And sometimes in a very echoey auditorium, a gymnasium or something, you just cannot, a fast song won't do, so try a slow song. That's where a slow song like We Shall Overcome is great. Now, get that slow rock. Yes.
So I was wondering if you have any recommendations. Rhythm is my very weak point, and I have a really hard time when I'm trying to get across a song to an audience, and I keep losing the rhythm. Do you have any recommendations how a person can get a better grasp on some of the more difficult rhythms?
Well, I'd say play with other musicians and practice. My rhythm is bad because anybody who plays by themselves can get away with murder. You can speed up, you can slow down. Earl Scruggs and his sister, when they were teenagers, used to play a game. They'd start playing the guitar and banjo together on the porch, and they'd walk around the house from the opposite side and meet each other, and then come around and sit down on the porch and see if they were still in rhythm where they were.
That's a great idea.
Take some training.
There were metronome books of exercises to do against a metronome.
Really?
With the metronome, it can get you
Yeah.
tuned in. It's mechanical, but it's a way to get somebody to really make you both do it.
Yeah.
Another way is to sing with the gospel choir.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet.
You have a standard set of songs that you do, like last night at Stanford, and I was wondering, do some of the songs just get to where they really bore you, even though they...
This is a tendency, and if I don't watch out, I have to either stop singing them for a while, or I'll sing them better. Mm-hmm. And but if you're starting getting bored with it, other people are going to start getting bored with it. So it's better to stop it.
Faith mentioned that it was an important point to you and some other people to rotate your songs every 6 months or something.
Well, I find almost every year I'm doing a slightly different program. I learn a new song, and if it works, I try out new songs almost every month. I used to much more than I do now. I guess more like every 3 months now. And if it works, I'll sing it. Like that song I sung last night, Give Me That Old Time Religion. Somebody showed up to the Sloop Club and started singing it, and it was fun. You've heard it, haven't you?
Mm-hmm.
With all the new verses to it?
No.
Oh! Give me that old time religion, give me that old time religion, give me that old time religion, it's good enough for me. We will pray with Aphrodite, we'll pray with Aphrodite. She wears that see-through nightie and it's good enough for me. Give me that old time religion, give me that old time religion, give me that old time religion, it's good enough for me. We will pray with those Egyptians, build pyramids to put our crypts in, cover subways with inscriptions, and it's good enough for me. Oh, give me that old time religion, give me that old time religion, give me that old time religion, it's good enough for me. We will pray with Zarathustra, we'll pray just like we used to. I'm a Zarathustra booster, and it's good enough for me. Pray with those old druids, they drink fermented fluids, waltzing naked through the woods. And it's good enough for me. Give me that old time religion, give me that old time religion, give me that old time religion, it's good enough for me. And you can make up as many verses as you want, there's hundreds of them already. But I made up one to end off. I'll arise at early morning when my Lord gives me the warning that the solar age is dawning, and that's good enough for me. Give me that old time religion, give me that old time religion, give me that old time religion, it's good enough for me. Well, it's fun to sing some new songs regularly, and I figure if I don't enjoy it, nobody else is going to enjoy it. I suppose in the long run, this is getting down to what you're talking to, Joachim. I figure if I'm enjoying myself, and if I mean what I say, whether I'm serious or humorous, whatever it is, it will get across to people, and they'll come in. But if I'm trying to fake it, it won't work. Sincerity is a much overused word. Sometimes an old faker is sincere in his fakery. This is the way it was with vaudeville, you know. I mean, they were out there giving out the hokum, but they really sincerely believed in it. It was sincere hokum. I don't know how much we're let me stick with rhythm for a moment. I think one of the most fun group songs I've done in recent years is the women's version of The Old Woman Who Swallowed a Fly. Meredith Tax wrote it in Boston way back 10 or 11 years ago, and it's published in a little underground newspaper called The Old Mole, M-O-L-E. And she had a whole page where she'd written new words to well-known melodies. And I latched onto it. I think I shortened it very slightly, but it's still a lot of fun. It has all the barbershop harmony type. There was a young woman who swallowed a lie. I don't know why she swallowed a lie. And by the time we get to the last verse, there was a young woman who swallowed a ring, looked like a princess, but felt like a thing. She swallowed a ring to make up with the pill. She swallowed the pill to follow the line, swallowed the line to follow the flow, swallowed the flow to follow the rule. Lived to serve men, she learned it at school. She swallowed the rule to prop up the lie. But I don't know why she There was a young woman, one day she woke up and said, I've swallowed so much, I wish I were dead. She ran to her sisters, it wasn't too late to liberate, regurgitate. She threw up the ring, she threw up the pill, she threw up the pill, she threw up the line, threw up the line, she threw up the fluff, threw up the fluff, she threw up the rule, lived to serve men, she learned it at school, and last of all, she threw up the lie. Now she knows why she swallowed a lie, and she'll not die. Barbershop harmony is a great thing. It sure is a result an awful lot of phoniness, but what we usually call barbershop was white people imitating the harmony that black people had in the barbershops way back in the 19th century. That's how James Weldon Johnson says the origin of the term. I sometimes sing an old barbershop song just to remind people of how stupid the words were. With someone like you, a pal so good and true, I'd like to be there, all be mine and go mine, some place that's known to God alone. Just to call our own. We'll find perfectly where joys will never cease. Out there beneath the highway sky, we'll build a sweet little nest somewhere out in the west, and let the rest of the world go by. Maybe the song to sing after that is What Have They Done to the Rain, while everybody was letting the rest of the world go by. Because it's very serious. This world is full of people who say, well, I can't do anything about the world, so I'm just going to get a little cozy corner for myself. You and me, baby. And
And they call the social activists negative.
yeah,
The other thing that happens is, look what they've done to my song when they take the people out.
yeah. I found myself making up a kind of barbershop harmony song, though, some years ago. And it's a fun song if I say so myself. Just when I thought all was lost, you changed my mind. You gave me hope, not just the old soft soap. You showed that we could learn to share in time. You and me and Rockefeller, I keep plugging on. Your face will shine through all I do. And when we sang another little victory song, precious friend, you will be there, singing in harmony. Precious friend, you will be there. Just when I thought, just when I thought all was lost, all was lost, you changed my mind, you changed my mind. You gave me hope, not just the old soft soap. You gave me hope, not just the old soft soap. You showed that we could learn to share in time. You and Rockefeller, you and me and Rockefeller, I'll keep plugging on. Your face will shine through all our tears. is there anything I haven't done about rhythm? Sometimes, as you can see, you want a very different rhythm from others, and it's kind of a shame not to bring out these different things. Sometimes you want a completely different type of harmony than the other. And we in this country are absorbing little bits of the traditions from all around the world. Not just North Europe and South Europe and the Middle East and Africa especially, because a tremendous amount of African music is in this country. We don't know it, but it's all around us. What is that pick in the hand? The way we play a guitar is an African way. They don't play it. The bass is doing just like the bass drum in a West African ensemble, and the top strings are getting all the syncopated notes like the little drum. And while I'm about it, I might mention that probably, I would say, the great song leaders in this country are in the black churches. These are the great song leaders in America today. A man named Carlton Reese, he is now a school teacher, music teacher in an integrated school near Birmingham, Alabama. And he's got his whole crowd of white and black kids singing with that same wonderful rocking beat. He plays a piano, and he puts a microphone on the left, and the piano's here, and he gets that rhythm going. The kids are moving their bodies with it, and he leads them out just like I've been. He feeds them the words. Stops playing with one hand, reaching out, plays with, hey! Before you know it, what was a group of ordinary citizens all of a sudden is a great chorus. And it's because he's bringing African techniques in here. One of the great things is this repeat, you know. You don't just sing, oh, when the saints go marching in. You've got, oh, when the saints go marching in. Antiphony is the fancy name for it, but continually reaching out for responses. And if you can, go to some of the black churches where they're doing this, and you'll learn more about song leading than you can learn from me, really. I can show you a lot of different things, but I can't show you any better things than they can show you. I hope Carlton Reese one of these days will be better known. I'm writing a letter to him, actually, have written a letter to him, I haven't mailed it yet, to see if maybe we could do some concerts together, because I'd like the audiences that hear me to see how he teaches. And he does it with that wonderful gospel piano, which, gosh, how do you write it down? He's rolling all, he's just covering the keys. Big heavyset guy, about 30 years old. No, I'm not that old. But he was, when he was a teenager, he was involved in the civil rights movement, and Reverend Shuttlesworth counted on him. He said, Carlton, get this crowd together. And Carlton would get them all together to hear Shuttlesworth give the speech. Now, here's the interesting thing. Shuttlesworth was speaking. I heard him 2 months ago in Washington at it was called Voices of the Civil Rights Movement. It was a kind of reunion of people who knew each other in the 60s. Bernice Regan brought it together, and I hope you're going to see it because she took it all on videotape. And Shuttlesworth gives a wonderful talk for about half an hour, describing how Birmingham was organized, how he worked with King, and how he worked on his own sometimes, how he bombed, and he was frank about his own religious feeling. He says, I believe very much in a God that is with me all the time. And he tells how when they tried to bomb him, his bed was right near the corner of the house, and they put 12 sticks of dynamite right near the corner of the house. And splinters of wood went through the wall on the other side, and the bed went out from underneath him, and he was unharmed. He says, I was in the lap of God. And he's a vigorous man in his 40s, I'd say. He was a young man during the Civil Rights Movement, but was brave enough to speak out when no one was else speaking. I mean, he took on Bull Connor, and he fought him up down the line on legal grounds, on moral grounds, on religious grounds, and musical grounds, with Carlton there to help him. Carlton says after he finished, Reverend Shuttlesworth, you have to sing such a song. I can't remember what song. And Shuttlesworth said, my voice is kind of hoarse today. Oh, you have to sing it. Shuttlesworth sang beautifully. What a beautiful voice. But not only that, Carlton reaches out and he gets the whole crowd singing along with Shuttlesworth. So Shuttlesworth is just giving the lines, and they're coming in with the responses. And just like the ocean supporting a boat, they were supporting him. And he was singing better and better as it went on. And I hope to live to see the day when in Congress, the congressman or congresswoman from Alabama or Georgia will stand up and give all the legal reasons why they're in favor of a certain bill, and all the moral and sentimental reasons why they're in favor of a bill, and then they're going to break into song, and all the other southern congressmen are going to suddenly join in, and the person taking notes is going to say, how do I write this down? Because music and prose just blended so beautifully. I mean, the prose becomes more and more rhythmic and more and more poetic, and the repetition comes in. The repetition is tremendously important. It gets to where a song has meaning that you can't put in words. I know in some traditions they say in the beginning was the word, but in other traditions in the beginning was the beat. And maybe that's where I should end this little chapter. So we take another 5-minute break and we have one more session. Okay? We have enough for one more session?
Sure. Right.
You're on. In the few minutes we have left, I'll try to specifically answer some of the questions that in these few minutes, Lord knows I'm sure I've forgotten to say a lot of things. I feel like I'm like an old baseball pitcher that's got a lot of tricks up his sleeve, and it's handy to know them all. Learning how to use microphones, learning how to tune an instrument quickly, having a lot of different songs in the back of your head, so you can handle different situations, because no two audiences are alike. And you and I, we're not like a performer that has a so-called act. We come out and do the same thing over and over again. We're changing always. We want to meet our people halfway. Here's a bunch of human beings. If we're fortunate, the human race survives, 50,000 years from now, there'll be human beings on this earth, and they'll be their ancestors, and we're their ancestors. And those people 50,000 years ago will be all our great-great-great-great-grandchildren walking around. So these people out here who I probably disagree with in many things, and they disagree with me about many things, I got to find some way to get together with them. I'll try and reach them halfway. I'll sing some songs that they really want to sing, although they may not be my favorites. But then, having done that, I'll sing them some songs which are my favorites, and let them listen to them. And it's this give and take which I think civilization is all about. I can't tell you all the different things. I've tried to tell you something about harmony, rhythm, but don't worry about too much theory. Just get out and do it and try it, and you'll work out your own theories as you, but pour everything you've got into it. You know, Jimmy Durante, when he went out on the stage, he said, "Get them all, give them all I got." And that's what we got to do too. Give them all you got. Whether you're a soft, quiet voiced person or a shouter, whatever it is, you still have to give them all you got. And Faith, you were saying something. Something about sharing a song?
Well, yes, there's a difference between performing a song and sharing a song. I'm sure the audience knows what you're doing and responds to what you're doing there very much. To me, I feel like I'm communicating with them all the time. They're giving a lot to me, and I'm a preacher. I'm like you. I do a lot of songs, and then I do the ones I want to do too, to make my points.
Well, we have we have a tremendous and important job in front of us, all of us, and we can all learn from each other. I have never actually heard you lead a song. I'm going to have to come around. I've tried to talk about the advantages of keeping going and sticking with the song. At the other times, sometimes I've stopped right in midstream. I sung 2 verses and said, this isn't the right song. I've quit and gone on to something else. Somebody asked a question. Are there times when it's better not to play an instrument while leading songs? I wrote down yes when you're not good at it. Have you found it better to teach a chorus to an audience by singing through it slowly a couple times or speaking through it and then going into the song? I don't find this so helpful. I find it better to do it as well as I can, up to tempo. Then later on maybe I can do it slowly. Way with the Spanish song, I sang it up to tempo first, and then later on I have to slow down a little because it's too difficult to sing it up to tempo. And sometimes, as I did with the Malvina's song Sing Along, I speak the words out to make sure everybody gets them clear. They say it's important to have perfect pitch. I don't have perfect pitch. I've got a relative pitch, but I can't tell you whether I'm singing a C or a C sharp or a D but I can got fairly good relative pitch. Keeping a steady beat, I guess this is good if you've got a song that needs a steady beat. Oh, what do you do if there's no sound system? Have you ever, any of you ever tried speaking to the people within earshot and saying, look, you're my loudspeaker. We'll start a song, and if those few who can hear me sing it out, those who can't hear me will get it from you. Occasionally mics have just conked out on me, so I've shouted, everybody within earshot, here we go, and I start off with a song that they know well enough so they can pick it up from me, and then they sing it loud enough, and pretty soon 1,000 people or 2,000 people are getting it from them. I learned that trick from, of all things, a Chinese. Liu Liang Mo came over here in World War II, teaching some of the songs which he was teaching to the Chinese communist armies. He said, we don't have microphones over there, but I get a group of singers the day before and I teach them the song and they're my microphone, loudspeakers. And next thing you know, they were teaching a song to 5,000 people. He was a YMCA song leader, incidentally. Yeah. What do you do with rock and roll addicts? Sing a rock and roll song. Sing something they know. Don't, at least meet them halfway. What do you have when you have a very formal setting or with ill or non-mobile people? This happens in hospitals. I've sung. You do your best. You can't, it doesn't work out as well, but it's a lot better than it would be if you weren't there. I remember singing in a hospital. That was my job, singing in hospitals when I was overseas in the island of Saipan. And I remember a ward full of men in casts, and I didn't even know if they could hear me, except one guy's toe was wiggling outside the cast. It was all, you could hardly see the guy. He was wrapped up in bandages. So if you have, it's true, formal settings don't help. If I had my favorite, I don't know how about you, but if I had my favorite way to make music, it would be in a very crowded room. Because when human bodies are crowded close, you get the critical mass going. And maximum maybe a few hundred. And then, by gosh, we'd raise the roof. And everybody's with it. I suppose it's nice if they can see you, because they can follow your lips. And I sang that old, slow English love song, The Water is Wide, for a group in this Sanders Theater, 800 people. And I was amazed how well they kept with me, because I got so interested in singing it that I wasn't using my hands, but they were just following my lips. Just following my lips. And they kept rhythm beautifully. So it's remarkable what they can do if they want to. But I don't know what else I can tell you that I haven't already.
What about that story with the lumberjacks?
Oh, yeah. Woody Guthrie and I were told by the Irene Hall arranged this. She introduced us to the Lumber Workers Union shop steward, organizer. He said, well, I'm going out to visit several camps tomorrow. Why don't you come with me? And you can sing some songs for the men. He says, they're all Scandahoovians, don't expect them to make a big fuss over you. They're the taciturn type. Well, that was an understatement. He, the bunkhouse about 50 feet square, about 80 men sitting around in their bunks, and he stood near the stove in the center and made a report on the union negotiations. He said, we'll have a couple of men here going to sing some songs. And there was dead silence. We stood up and we sang a song. There was dead silence. Sing another song, dead silence. Said, well, let's sing one more and call it an evening. We sang one more and there's dead silence. We said, thanks. And we walked to the door. One of the men said, aren't you going to sing any more? Well, we went, you want to hear more? Yeah. We went back, sang another song, dead silence. And so, thanks a lot, man. And we walked off. Next morning, breakfast, one of the men said, boy, that music was wonderful. We could have listened to it all night. Well, Scandinavians are taciturn.
I was wondering if you have any special things that you do to get ready to do a big performance, like tonight.
Breathe deeply. Love. Do a few deep knee bends or touch toes. Your physical health is tremendously important. And if your back is giving you trouble, tighten up your stomach muscles. That's why you get your backs. It gets in trouble when you don't have strong enough stomach muscles. And it was W.E.B. Du Bois said that disregarding your health is a political error. God gave us a certain amount of strength, but we can lose it easily if we don't get exercise and eat properly and sleep properly and so on. And when I'm in a bad way, I can't do a good job in the audience. If I'm hoarse, I can still do it if my muscles are feeling strong. Right? I can be quite hoarse and still do a fairly good job of song reading. But if I'm tired, been without sleep for a couple of nights, I'm going to louse it up.
The way you and Faith introduce songs makes, I feel, and somebody else said, makes people feel like you're singing about their relatives. A lot of us don't do that. Can you speak to that? I mean, the feelings of how you talk about songs that just make everybody feel like we're singing about our friends, and what's just to really sing out.
I never heard that said, but I guess it's true. I'd like to think that every song it becomes personally important to everybody who hears it. And so I guess you just want to do it. That must come through. I used to talk too damn much, and I've tried to cut down on the talking in recent years. The reason was, once, years ago, somebody asked me to do some lectures, and I had so much fun lecturing after. It took me years to get over it. Then I listened to some of the best singers and song leaders I know, and I realized they don't talk half as much as I do. They make the words count. Now, if you're really good at talking as Woody Guthrie is, you can talk all evening, no one care. But I'll sing you a song maybe you don't know. Jim Garland wrote it, the man who wrote The Death of Harry Sims, the man who wrote I Don't Want Your Millions, Mister. It's a radical song. He was a radical. He was a coal miner. His father had been an organizer for the Knights of Labor in the 1880s. And in the 1930s, early 30s, down from the north come some radicals who says, the reason you coal miners are poor is because the people that own the coal mines are rich. Well, Jim says, I know that. Well, we got a whole theory about it. We call it communism. And Jim started studying this, and he made up a song. How well I do remember how class struggle brought me through. I went out on strike in '32, and they brought the thugs against me, and the state militia too, and they kicked me in the gutter. How about you? How about you? How about you? Can't you see this system's rotten through and through? It gives millions to the bosses, the capitalistic few, but enslaves the toiling masses like me and you. Now, the song was never widely sung. Jim never got another good verse as that first verse. And I tried and never succeeded. But that's a good verse and a good chorus anyway. How about you? How about you? Can't you see the system rotten through and through? It gives millions to the bosses, capitalistic few, but enslaves the toiling masses like me and you. It's an old church hymn, you know. Jim didn't write the melodies like Woody Guthrie. He got a good melody and put new words to it. I sometimes think a melody is like a well-constructed building. Many people can live in it through the generations. It can be used as a dwelling, a house, a workshop. So the same tune has been used for a ballad, or a church song, or a work song, or here a union song, or a revolutionary song. How well I do remember how class struggle brought me through. I went out on strike in '32, and they brought the thugs against me, and the state militia too. And they kicked me in the gutter. How about you? Sing it now. How about you? How about you? Can't you see the system rotten through and through? It gives millions to the bosses, the capitalistic few, but enslaves the toiling masses like me and you. Well, I don't know if I shocked you singing an old revolutionary song like that, but you know, it's all our heritage. We can use what we want of it. And I mistrust words more now than I ever did in my life. I mistrust them whether they're used by Christians or communists or Muslims or anybody else. I think there's a lingocentric predicament that every word user is in. You've heard of the ethnocentric predicament. We can't really understand another culture because we're looking through the screen of our own culture. Similarly, every one of us who uses words is probably only being partly understood by someone else. Now maybe this is true of music too. Maybe our music means different things. But one reason I'm a musician is that I'm more conscious than ever of the inadequacies of words. Words help, and a few words introducing a song can help tell people. I tell people about who wrote Amazing Grace. He was a sea captain. He was carrying slaves from Africa, and his conscience got to him. And he became a preacher and wrote the song Amazing Grace. I tell the story about the man who wrote C'est la lutte finale. He was a textile worker running for his life because he'd been elected mayor of Paris during the Paris Commune, mayor of his district of Paris. And as Paris Commune was falling and leaders were being executed the minute they were captured, and he was in hiding. He writes 6 long verses calling on all the oppressed people of the world to overthrow their masters. He assumed they knew French. Well, words I think are useful, but let's recognize their limitations. And I would like to end this little session by repeating, use harmony, use melody, use melody. Gosh, what beautiful melodies we've got. There's been handed us on a silver platter. My young love came to me. She moved through the fair. So softly she wandered both here and there. And she laid her hand on me, and she did say, it will not be long, long, till our wedding day. Someday, people like you are going to make that song as well known to 300 million Americans as it is now known to a few lovers of Irish song. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I wish I could stick around longer, but I got a concert this evening. I'm going to hit the sack. And I also wish I lived in San Francisco more, so I could see more of what the San Francisco Folk Music Club is doing.
It's really moving. Rocking.
I hope that you can broaden the definition of folk music. People get the idea that folk music is guitars and banjos, and you say, "Oh, that's not a folk song. That's an Italian song." That's not a folk song. That's a Cuban song.
Yeah, more accordions.
Yeah, please. Tends to be a limiting term, rather
Yeah.
than an expansive term.
If anybody ever does get a chance to go to Samoa, learn that welcome song. Because we muffed it. We lost it. It didn't come out. But I'll never forget, the whole crowd went like this. And then she went, everybody clapped their hands and they started singing in 3-4 part harmony. It was magnificent. And she did this hula up and down the aisle.
Pete, is there anything we can do for you in return, any of us at all? Thank
Just
you.
keep on singing. Oh, well, you know what you also could do? Keep in touch, not just through the Folk Music Club, but through Sing Out magazine, for example. It can't do as good a job as it would like to because not enough people help it. We had to give up printing song sheets because they just were going broke. They couldn't, it was a matter of folding. And but if Sing Out had more subscriptions, why they'd be able to start printing song sheets again.
There's a Sing Out benefit in Napa next month.
Pete's going to be in that.
I don't think I'll be there.
Really? That's what you said?
They won't ask me if I can make it, but I
Oh,
can.
okay. Miss Act. Lenny will be in that.
What's the date on that?
You know how you can help me? Keep your sense of humor. Because you know the next few years are going to be hell on anybody who doesn't have a sense of humor. Old friends are going to be breaking up. There's going to be new coalitions, and old coalitions are going to fall apart. And you are working with that son of a soul.